Good morning. So let's start today's current affairs session. So moving with the topics of the day. Okay. So there is big hue and cry rage on India's criminal justice system. Right. So why this is the news? Because a division bench of the Supreme Court of India in Satendra Kumar Antil versus CBI laid down fresh guidelines on arrest in order to have strict compliance with the provisions of Section 41 and 41A of the CRPC, Criminal Procedure Code 1973. What it deals with? So, Section 41, 41A of the Code of Criminal Procedure. Section 41 of the Code provisions provides for the circumstances in which arrest can be made by the police without a warrant. Fine. But this section specially provides that under which circumstances police can arrest a person without a warrant and mandate for regions to be recorded in writing for every arrest and non-arrest. And section 41A of the code provides for the requirement of a notice to be sent by the investigating agency before making an arrest in certain condition prescribed by the code. Two different things. One is it can arrest under that section 41, and 41A it can arrest, but before that it must send a notice, okay, of arrest before arresting. These are the two different provisions under section 41 and 41A of the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973. So arrest in its simplest form is defined as when one is taken and restrained from his liberty, he is arrested. So his liberty is taken away. The police have wide powers to arrest under Criminal Procedure Code 1973 because it is a criminal case. The civil case, the police is not that free to arrest a person, but in case of a criminal case, police is utmost free to arrest a person because he is involved in a criminal case. To become a criminal, the criminal is immediately arrested to check him from committing further crimes and bring justice to the victim. Because he has committed a crime, so he or she should be arrested as soon as possible. The arrest should be as soon as possible. Fine. Scale of the crisis in Indian criminal justice system. What is the problem over there? If the persons are arrested, so there is large scale arrest using this particular law. So what happens? But the system under Indian Criminal Procedure Code for this, over 75% of India's prison population are under trial prisoners. They are not convicted. They are under trial prisoners. Remember, this is very important. 75% of the prisoners in Indian jail are under trial prisoners who have not been convicted. While overcrowding of Indian prisons stands out at 118%. That means the prisons are already overcrowded with more than its capacity. 118% crowding of the prisons. Fine. So 75% are under trial prisoners who might have been released on bail due to some reason. they are unable to get the bail because they are unable to fulfill the bail conditions. Being poor, without property records, etc., made them okay. So restrain them from getting the bail. These dark reality are often cited to represent the scale of crisis in Indian criminal justice system. But in the two major issue, 75% of the prisoners are under trials, and Indian jails are overcrowded by 118%. Why? Where there is a capacity for 100, so 118 prisoners are staying inside the jail. But the biggest challenge for getting the bail compliance, a large number of under trials continue to remain in prison despite being granted bail due to the challenge in complying with the bail conditions. The court has granted them bail, but they are not released because they are not being successful in fulfilling the bail conditions. Lack of means to arrange the money because they are poor, they can arrange the bail money or the bail bond. Our property and local securities are the most significant reason accounting for an undertale's inability to comply with bail conditions. Realities borne out by our experience in criminal justice system. Okay, so with that, so what this FTP stands for file transfer protocol. Okay, this okay because they have already been granted bail, but because they are unable to fulfill the bail conditions like the financial provisions, like the property record, or arranging a local surety to get the bail. So normally the poor people are unable to arrange it. Although bail has been granted to them by the court, yet it has not they have not been given that. Fine. So this is the issue in our criminal justice system. Okay. Then the flawed assumptions. The bail system as it currently operates has flawed assumption that every arrested person will be protected, having property or have access to property social connection. It presumes that the risk of financial loss is necessary to ensure the presence of the accused in the court. So, as he has been released in bail, he must give some surety, and if he is not presenting him in the bail in future, the property will be confiscated by the court. This is a very false presumption in the judicial or in the bail system. Fine, because fine. So all the person who have granted bail, they are not persons having property. And second is that they are also not that socially connected. Fine. So expecting the person that due to their social connection or they too having the property with them, so they will be able to get the bail each not or has never materialized. Fine. Because these two conditions is not possible. Fine. Then dispute pending cases. There are more than 4.4 crore cases pending in our judiciary. It is unlikely that this problem will go away anytime soon. So recently there is a report that If it will take nearly 312 years to clear all the backlogs in our judicial system. How many years? 312 years it will take to clear our backlogs in the judicial system. 312 long years it will take to clear our backlogs in the judicial system. Fine. So because 4.4 crore cases are pending before our judiciary from the bottom to the top, and majority of them are also in the High Court and Supreme Court. Okay, it's not that they are only pending. Okay, so the cases are pending in the subordinate courts, source in the High Courts, and in the Supreme Court too. If the entire cases need to be cleared as per a recent report, so it will take nearly 312 years. And the pandemic has further aggravated the situation because during the pandemic, the court remained closed for nearly 2 years. That has further aggravated the pending cases in the country. It has further aggravated. Fine. As the court remained closed, so the number of cases trial was further delayed. Okay, leading to further increase in number of pending cases in the judiciary from the base ground to the top level. Fine. Justice mechanism will remain inaccessible to marginalized classes of citizens. It is called that justice delayed, justice denied. And right now, justice is also becoming costly. Accessing justice became costly also in our country. Why? It became costly. So the poor people cannot afford the legal services to get justice for them. That is why for them justice is a distance dream. For the poor people, justice is a distance dream because they cannot access it. Right? Due to their poor economic condition. Abuse of power. Another problem is abuse of power by the police. The colonial mindset with which the institution was created is persistent. Okay, so it determines and govern the manner in which the police discharge their functions. Our street frustration crime control values to promote such abuse of power. The police in India operates in the colonial mindset, the same colonial mindset, but it was in the British period. And the investigation authority and the judiciary is also not fully immune from the colonial legacy. Right? It is not free from the colonial legacy. That is why accessing justice by the common people always remain a distant dream. Okay? It remain a very distant dream. And the major reason is, so they know very well that This is not going to happen so early. Okay. But the Supreme Court observed in this case, the Supreme Court of India recently acknowledged in Satyendra Kumar Antil versus CBI the ineffectiveness of India's well system and its contribution to this crisis. The court said that the investigating agency and their officials are duty bound to comply with the mandate of Section 41 41A and the direction issued in the Ernest Kumar case. The court stated that any dereliction on the part of the agency has to be brought to the notice of the higher authority by the court followed by the appropriate action. The court provided comprehensive guideline on laws related to bail such as mandating timelines for the disposal of bail applications, laying emphasis on the need to enact a separate legislation. In the case of Amaresh Kumar or Arnesh Kumar, the apex court had rightly observed that arrest being humiliation, curtail freedom and cast scar forever. It put the person in a very insulting position. In the Jogendra Kumar case verdict, the court has stated that arrest and detention in police lockup of a person can cause incalculable harm to the reputation and self-esteem of the person. So these are to be taken care of while arresting a person or putting him behind bars. The other effects in its 146th report, the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Health recommended that there is a need for a comprehensive review of the criminal justice system of the country. The court said that there need to be strict compliance of the mandates laid down in the judgment of this court in Siddharth versus State of MP 2021. In 2003, Justice V.S. Justice versus the Malibat Committee on Reforms on the Criminal System had come up with some far-reaching suggestions, some of which have become part of the changes in the criminal law. Justice Verma panel formed after the VANIK case. Okay. Come with a comprehensive progressive report on reforms in law concerning crime against women in 13 in barely 1 month, but it has sped up probably due to the limited mandate it has made. Understanding so, but we must find the way solution to this issue. Understanding the nature of the legislation is the most important part. Fine. So any imagination of the law on bail needs to first understand the exact nature of the problem that results in large scale under trial incarnation. This assessment needs to be based on multiple parameters. An effective bail law must be based on the correct correlation with variables such as the demographics of under trials, category of offences, and timeliness of bail, and other also address socio-economic structural barriers to the bail. Then urgent need for bail reform, but it should be counterproductive to undertake a reform exercise without first developing the empirical basis to understand and diagnose the problem at hand. Then coming to uniform curriculum. So we need to strive for a uniform curriculum of the higher standard across police academics. The central government has initiated the process of setting up Central Police University at Noida. Provide an advocate. The state should provide an advocate the victim choice to plead in a behalf, and the cost has to be borne by the state if the victim can afford it. So it is already provided in the NALSA. Okay, but people are unable to access it. The National Judicial Commission must have clear guidelines on precise qualifications, experience, qualities, and attributes that are needed in a good judge, and also the prescription of objective criteria to apply to the overall background of the candidate. The separate criminal division. The High Court, including Supreme Court, should have a separate criminal division consisting of the judges who have specialized in criminal law. Because the law judiciary There is separation. But this separation is diluted when it goes to a higher judiciary. Fine. Because in lower judiciary we have civil code and criminal codes. There is separation. But in case of lower judiciary, this is not there. So in the higher judiciary, it is not there. Okay. So we have to prepare a separate structure where the civil and criminal codes will be separate even at the higher level. Okay. The criminal justice system is an integral part of the democratic setup. Therefore, it is imperative that comprehensive steps are taken to make the system more effective. There is an imperative to solve an effective jurisprudence of complete judiciary by focusing on personal liberty. Okay. So then comes the next important news is on the media and the kangaroo courts. Kangaroo court is a court where the justice is already predetermined, but it is going to the judgment. Recently, Chief Justice of India and Justice N.B. Ramanna said that media is running kangaroo courts in India, the proactive media. Okay. So more about the news. So the Chief Justice of India N.B. Ramanna said that kangaroo courts being run by the media are detrimental to the health of the country's democracy. Ill-informed, biased, and agenda-driven debates in the media on issue pending in the court affecting justice delivery. Because they start discussion on the issues pending in the judiciary, thereby creating a public opinion before the judges give the judgment. He said concerned campaigns against judges, particularly in social media and media trends, affect judicial functioning, and it is easy to swallow when false narratives are created about the easy life led by the judges. The print media still has certain degree of accountability, whereas electronic media has zero accountability as to what it shows vanishes in thin air, and the social media have more importance or more influence. Print media has some relevance and they follow some degree of accountability, but the electronic media and social media, so they are uncontrolled and they are not at all accountable, and the responsibility and accountability on the part of the electronic media and the social media are creating or aggravating the situation further. Owing to the frequent transgressions and consequent social unrest, there is a growing demand for strict media regulations and accountability. The top judge advised the media to self-regulate and measure their words. Fine. More about media trials. The trial by media is certainly coined term and it used to denote a facet of media activism. It means the impact of television and newspaper coverage on person's reputation by creating a widespread perception of guilt regardless of any verdict in a court of law. Impact of media trials and justice delivery. Media activism imposes an indirect pressure on the adjudicating authorities to deliver justice to victims who may interfere with the trial proceedings and may cause prejudice to the accused and change chance of proving his innocence. They invade their privacy, which causes a breach of the right to privacy guaranteed under Article 21. The news is whether whatever sells the best by the but the need to compete for commercialization or the TRP ranking has more views and transformed the media today into a full-fledged game of viewership. The TRP ranking. The name of the game is rating, viewership, eyeballs, and commercials. That is what make the media to arrange such trial before the real trial by the judiciary. The recent example of prioritization of extreme coverage of superstar son over alleged drug abuse, as opposed to covering death of protesting farmers, is one of the many instances where media has shown that it seeks to cover sensational news more than any other. This means whatever catches the grasp of the attention of the public, or in any other words, sensational news or sensationalism. The kangaroo court, the fact that the kangaroo court is used against the judicial system where the judgment against the accused is usually predetermined. What is going to judgment is already predetermined. Okay, before the final judgment comes. Moreover, the system does not work on the standard of law or justice. In kangaroo court, the procedure is only conducted as formality. Kangaroo courts are known for working against the page innocent until proven guilty. The court does not allow to appeal against its judgment. The kangaroo courts were common during the Stalin era in Russia, famous as the Moscow trials, where the judgment are already declared. Okay, and it is known before the trial order comes out. They are completely biased, and so this is not good for the democracy, and especially this is a big this is going to create big harm to the Indian democracy. This sort of kangaroo courts, because we have a separate three organs: legislature, executive, judiciary. There is separation of power, and the judiciary is the protector of the constitution to uphold it. If its powers are transgressed by this kangaroo court, it will create a bad precedent in the system. Okay. Then the third news is regarding the Jammu Kashmir Public Safety Act. Okay. So government brings out legislation called the safety law. So to maintain safety, fine. So there may be preventive detention law that which are shortly called as PD, or preventive detention measures. So they are popularly called as preventive detention or PD law. Several youth of Jammu and Kashmir were taken into preventive detention under the controversial Public Safety Act passed by the Assembly. The Public Safety Act allowed detention up to 2 years without a trial. Held under this act, they are sent to the jails outside the Union territory and have lost contact with their kin. One unofficial estimate suggests around 200 youth face detention under Public Safety Act this year, and most of them were those who have past involvement in street protests and the stone melting activities. More about the Public Safety Act. The Jammu Kashmir Public Safety Act 1978 is a preventive detention law, but in the status it is a preventive detention law. That means before a person commit a crime, he is detained, and his detention prevents him from committing the crime. So that is the origin of the preventive detention law. Before the person commit the crime, he is detained, and his detention prevents him from committing the crime, which might have consequences upon the society. Under this, a person is taken into custody to prevent him or her from acting in any manner that is prejudicial to the security of the state or the maintenance of public order. Two things. One is state security or maintenance of public order. In the name of maintaining public order, a person can be arrested prior to him committing any crime, or in the name of security of the country, the person can be arrested because so it is apprehended that in case he is not arrested, he is conspiring and he may commit some crime. So he is arrested before any crime is committed by the person. Person is arrested. By definition, preventive detention is meant to be preventive, not punitive. Preventive. Punitive is after the crime takes place. Preventive is before the crime is happening. This broad definition is the most common ground used by law enforcement agency when it slaps the Public Safety Act on an individual. The law was introduced by the Sheikh Abdullah in 1978. It is often referred to as a draconian law because many have been arrested under this and sent outside the state and they don't have any contact with their kith and kin. It allows for administrative detention up to 2 years in the case of person acting in any manner prejudicial to the security of the state, or for administrative detention up to 1 year when any person is acting in any manner prejudicial to the maintenance of public order. One is safety, one is public order. It comes into force when the divisional commissioner or the district magistrate passes an administrative order to that effect. After the amendment of the Act in 2012, the detention of the person below the age of 18 years was strictly prohibited under this Act. So, no person below 18 years can be arrested under this Act as per the amendment to the Act made in 2012. Advisory Board. Government has to set up an advisory board within 4 weeks of the detention order. The board must determine if there are sufficient grounds for detention within 8 weeks. Section 22 of the Act provides protection for any action taken in good faith under the Act. No suit, persecution, or any legal proceeding shall lie against any person for anything done or intended to be done in good faith in pursuance of the provisions of this Act. So the district magistrate who has passed the detention order has protection under the Act. Section 23 of the Act, the government is empowered to make such rules consistent with the provisions of the Act as may be necessary for carrying out the objective of this Act. And coming to outside Jammu Kashmir, in August 2018, the Act was amended to allow individuals to be detained under the Public Safety Act outside the state as well in case conspiracy is there to affect that state of Jammu and Kashmir. Its dimension has been expanded. Fine. And the next topic is an international topic on the recently concluded WTO Ministerial Conference, which was held, the 12th Ministerial Conference, which was held at the headquarters of WTO after a long gap due to the pandemic impact. The recently WTO Agreement on Fishery Subsidy adopted the 12th Ministerial Conference marks a major step towards forwarding ocean sustainability by providing harmful fishery subsidies, prohibiting the harmful fishery subsidies because this is against sustainable fishery. The agreement on fishery subsidies delivers on the mandate from the 11th Ministerial Conference as contained in the Buenos Aires Ministerial Declaration held the 11th one. Okay, and on the Sustainable Development Goal 13.6. It is part of this 2030 Agenda of Sustainable Development adopted by the United Nations General Assembly member states in 2015 and affirmed the WTO's role in global fishery subsidy agenda. Recent decision taken: unreported and unregulated fishing. It will prohibit subsidies from being provided for illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing and overfished stocks. The agreement will eliminate the subsidy granted to fishing vessels or fishing operators engaged in unregulated fishing. Fine. Under the special differential treatment, developing country and least developed countries have been allowed a transition to 2 years from the date of entry into force of this particular agreement on unregulated fishing. Fishing on high sea, the agreement also prohibits providing subsidy for fishing on high sea, which are outside the jurisdiction of coastal countries and regional fisheries management organizations or agreements. No prohibition has been imposed on a WTO member regarding granting or maintaining subsidy to its vessel or operator as long as it is not carrying out the order of IUU. No prohibition on providing subsidy has been imposed for fishing regarding overfished stocks as long as such subsidies are implemented to rebuild the stock to a biologically sustainable level. Fine. Because so overfishing is leading to the extinction of the fish varieties and ultimately leading to imbalances in the marine products. So there should be limitation on the fishing and fishing in the high sea to be regulated, and the subsidy given by some country to the fishing industry must be properly regulated, because subsidy given by the government to the fishing sector encourage the sector to overexploit the marine resources, which are not sustainable in the long run. For the long run sustainability, it is a must that so there should be some regulation over the issue, and the unnecessary subsidy being given which led to overexploitation should be got. And the next news is about the 5G and fiberization in India. So very soon we are going to see the launch of 5G services in our country. The experiment has been done, the testing has been done by the Minister, Srinivasan, and already government has started the process of auctioning the spectrum for the launching of the 5G services. Okay, government has already started auctioning the spectrum, 5G spectrum, to start launching of the 5G services in the country. Okay. The process of connecting radio towers with each other by optical fiber cables is called fiberization. We have mobile towers, and the towers have been connected through optical fiber cables. A fiber optic cable is a network cable that contains strand of glass fibers inside an insulated casing. They are designed for long distance, high performance data networking and telecommunication, because it acts under the principle of total internal reflection, because the optical fiber operates on the simple principle of total internal reflection. There is very less resistance, and the data transfer or that call transfers are very fast without any interruption. They facilitate faster data, provide full utilization of the network capability, carry large number of data since 5G services are rolled out, aid in providing additional bandwidth and stronger backhaul support. Then backhaul components. The backhaul is a component of the larger transport that is responsible for carrying data across the network. It represents the part of the network that connects the core of the network to the edge. Core is the center to the edge. Okay, that means so it connects the core to the edge. Fine. As a result, fiber backbones remains an important part of the transport across all telecoms. Optical media, also called the fiber-based media, provides almost infinite bandwidth and coverage, low latency and high insulation from interference. With 5G, it will also be necessary to increase the density of the mobile towers to provide better coverage to consumers and business. This calls for increased requirement for fiber deployment. Fine. So, fiberization in the country is at very low speed. To transition into 5G, India needs at least 16 times more fibers. In India, currently only 33% of towers are fiberized, compared to 65% to 70% in South Korea, 80%, 90% in US, Japan, China, according to 2021 report by India Infrastructure Research. The fiber kilometer per kilo capita in India is lowest than other key markets, but we have a larger mobile consumer base. Ideally, a country needs 1.3 kilometer fiber per capita to ensure good fiberization. India's fiber kilometer is only 0.9 compared to 1.35 in Japan, 1.34 in USA and 1.3 in China. The report noted. So, for launching the 5G services, we need faster fiber optic network. Connecting the towers with fiber optic cables will facilitate in faster data transfer and providing faster telecom services through the network. Then advantage of 5G. So 5G will be rolled out soon as per the government plan. 5G advantage is 5G works faster on the mobile phones and other devices when compared to 4G and 4G LTE. Low latency 5G has low latency when compared to 4G that will support new applications such as artificial intelligence, IoT, and Internet of Things, virtual reality efficiently. It enables mobile phones users to open a web page and browse things without any hassles. Increased capacity. 5G has the capacity to deliver up to 100 times more capacity than 4G. It allows companies to switch between cellular and Wi-Fi wireless strategy that will help a lot to experience better performance. More bandwidth, increase the bandwidth that will help transfer the data as soon as possible. Mobile phone users can ensure a faster connection with more bandwidth after choosing 5G network. Then powering innovations. 5G technology is the perfect choice for the connecting with a whole range of different devices, including drones and sensors. It gives way to power and adoption of IoT, Internet of Things, allowing industries to enhance their productivity and other things. Less tower congestions. 4G cellular networks often get congested, which will result in various problems while accessing important data. 5G network allow users to avoid them due to better speed and more bandwidth. 5G places a lot of importance on agency efficiency, energy efficiency. This will mean lower energy bill per service providers and longer battery life for the mobile devices. Then 5G technology will bring positive change in the governance of the country, ease of living, and ease of doing business. It will boost growth in the agriculture, health, education, infrastructure, and logistics because this technology will add more data and people will be able to access informations in a more faster way as per their choice, and using that information they can get benefit in almost all the domains. And the last news is about the monkeypox, which has created havoc recently. Recently, WHO has declared global monkeypox outbreak as a public health emergency of international concern. But WHO has declared monkeypox as a public health emergency of international concern. Fine. So what it implies? Declaring a global emergency means the monkeypox outbreak is an extraordinary event that could spill over into more countries and requires a coordinated global response. It has already spread to more than 80 countries. The WHO had previously declared emergency for public health issues such as COVID-19 pandemic, the 2014 West Asian Ebola outbreak, the Zika virus in Latin America in 2016, and the ongoing effort to eradicate polio. About monkeypox, it is a viral zoonotic disease. Zoonotic means that which has been transmitted from animal to the man. Zoonotic. Fine. That occurs primarily in tropical and forest area of Central and West Africa. Caused by monkeypox virus, a member of the orthopovirus gene in the family of Proxiridia. The clinical basis of monkeypox resembles that of smallpox, a related orthopovirus infection, which are declared eradicated worldwide in 2018. The symptoms: fever, rash and swollen lymph nodes, headache, nausea, and along with this, other symptoms cover. So, how it is transmitted? Mostly transmitted to people from wild animals such as rodents and primates. Human-to-human transmission also occurs. Monkeypox virus is transmitted from one person to another by contact with lesbians, body fluids, respiratory droplets, and contaminated materials such as bedding. So the first case of monkeypox was reported in 1958 in monkeys and in humans in 1970 in the West Africa. Nigeria witnessed biggest outbreak of disease in 2017. Therefore, the disease has been reported in many countries including USA, Singapore, UK, and recently there is cases in India. So there are some cases of monkeypox that also emerged in India or located in India. And so as per the WHO report, around 85 countries it has spread to around 85 countries in the world. So this is why WHO has issued warning against questioning it as a global concern. So the main difference between symptoms of smallpox and monkeypox is that the latter causes lymph nodes to swell, while smallpox does not. The majority of the reported cases of monkeypox currently are in males, and most of these cases occur among males who identify themselves as gay, bisexuals, and other men who have sex with men in urban areas and are clustered in social and sexual network. So that means through bloody fluid this is transmitted, and so this is a big concern if we are not taking adequate precautionary measures as per the WHO guidelines. So this may again spread, and as no vaccine is available for this particular disease. Okay, then okay, this will affect the global community in the form of another pandemic. So we have not yet overcome the shock of one pandemic, the COVID pandemic. If monkeypox emerges as another pandemic, so we will be in great trouble. That's why WHO has issued warning against monkeypox, and that advisory is to be followed by the countries to ensure that this is avoided with all the precautions being taken by us. Then friends, coming to the questions, consider the following regarding kangaroo courts. The phrase kangaroo court is used against judicial system where the judgment against the accused is usually predetermined. When the trial has already been made by the court in the public. In kangaroo court, the procedure is only conducted as a formality because judgment will come as per the already decided matter. The kangaroo courts are common during the Stalin era in Soviet Russia, famous are the Moscow trials. So all the three are correct as per the information that we have discussed while discussing the topic. Against the following statement regarding Jammu Kashmir Public Safety Act. Public Safety Act allow detention of the person for 5 years without trial. This is wrong. This is trial up to 2 years, not 5 years. This is not 5 years, this is only 2 years. And Jammu Kashmir Public Safety Act 17 is a preventive detention law. Yes, it is a PD law. We have discussed it, so it is only 2 is the right answer. Then moving further, question number 3. That's the following statement regarding World Health Organization, World Trade Organization. It was founded in 1995 as a successor of the GATT and the 8th round of Urgeta. Okay, so the Maracas by the Maracas Agreement. Headquartered at Paris. No, it is headquartered at Geneva, not Paris. WTO headquarters is at Geneva in Switzerland, where the recent 12th Ministerial Conference was held in June 2020. WTO is the only intergovernmental organization that deals with the rules of trade between countries. Yes, this is the apex organization dealing with the rules of trade between countries. So 1 and 3 are correct. 2 is wrong because headquarters is not in Paris, headquarters is in Geneva and headed by Director General. Then question number 4. World Health Organization recently declared global monkeypox outbreak as a public health emergency of international concern. It is a viral zoonotic disease that occurs primarily in tropical rainforest area of central Costa Rica. So these two are right. It is mostly transmitted to people from wild animals such as rodents and primates, and human-to-human transmission does not occur. Yes, human-to-human transmission also occurs. So this also occurs. So three is wrong. So 1 and 2 are correct. So answer will be A. The ethnic group about the Rohingyas, the ethnic group represent the largest percent of Muslim in the Myanmar are predominantly live in the western Myanmar province of Rakhine, the Rakhine province, the Rakhine state in Myanmar. They are described by the United Nations as one of the most persecuted minority in the world. Yes, they have been tortured, killed, raped, murdered by the military junta during in Myanmar over the periods. That's why they are fleeing to Bangladesh and some have come to India. They are the most persecuted minority in the world, the Rohingyas. Maximum of them have been tortured and killed by the government authority. GI tag for rose onion is given to the state of Maharashtra and GI tag for white onion is given to the state of Karnataka. GI tag is given for a product due to its special it is being produced over there. So rose onion is given not to Maharashtra but to Karnataka. Okay, this rose onion GI tag has been given to Karnataka and white onion has been given to Maharashtra. So white onion to Maharashtra and rose onion to Karnataka and white onion to Maharashtra. So this is wrong. Other GI tag products of the Maharashtra includes chiku, kesar mango and bananas. Yes, these are right. Then 7. When two objects orbit one another, they do so around a neutral center of gravity called the barycenter. For a system like Earth and the Sun, the barycenter is close to the center of the Sun. The barycenter of our solar system constantly changes position and depends on where the planets are in their orbits. So all the three are correct. Then mass the revolutions and the origin. Santal revolution against oppression of the revenue officials. Paiko rebellion, last war of independence in Odisha, Khordha. Coal rebellion against take over the tribal land, and Bhil rebellion against the intrusion of the Bhil territory, the Bhil tribes territory. All the four are correctly matched. The High Court in consulting the state government set up special court for issuing them. It cannot. To the state government, no. So I could, it's to the central government. So it cannot establish. Session court identify the under trial prisoners who cannot comply with the bail conditions. Okay. So which is correct. The High Court into the state government can set special court can be established for issuing bails because when the number of cases are pending and under trials are languishing in the jail, this can be done. The session court identify the under trial prisoners who cannot comply with the bail conditions. Session court cannot do this. There is no power regarding this. Then coming to the last question, the borrowing by state public sector undertakings or their special purpose vehicles will be considered as borrowing by the state government needing consent. All states in India have enacted the Fiscal Responsible Budget Management FRBM Act. The Ministry of Finance follows the recommendation of the Finance Commission while exercising the power to approve state borrowing under the Article 293(3) as per the FRB Act coming to force. So all the three statements are correct. So friends, this way we have discussed the important topic for the day as well as the questions that are important based on today's topic. So hope you have enriched yourself by this decision. Keep on watching regularly to update yourself. Thank you.